Zayne Marston. The name resonates with anyone who frequented SeaWorld in the early 2000s. He wasn't just a trainer, he was the trainer. Charismatic, dedicated, and seemingly fearless, Zayne possessed an almost uncanny ability to connect with orcas. His passion was infectious, captivating audiences and inspiring countless aspiring marine biologists. From humble beginnings, volunteering at a local aquarium, Zayne's star rose quickly through the ranks at SeaWorld. His natural affinity for these magnificent creatures, combined with his unwavering work ethic, made him a natural fit. He pored over research papers, shadowed senior trainers, and dedicated countless hours to understanding the nuances of orca behavior. And then there was Nani. More than just an orca, Nani was a legend within SeaWorld. A creature of immense power and breathtaking grace, she arrived at the park as a young calf, quickly becoming a star attraction. Her sleek black and white markings, intelligent eyes, and playful demeanor captivated audiences. But beneath the surface of this dazzling performer resided a complex and powerful being. Zayne and Nani's partnership began tentatively. Initially, they were just another trainer-orca pairing, but as they spent more time together, something special blossomed. Zayne approached Nani with respect and patience, recognizing her intelligence and individuality. He learned her preferences, her moods, her individual quirks. He spoke to her in a soothing tone, his voice a constant source of reassurance. He used positive reinforcement, rewarding her successes with fish and affection. Their bond deepened, transforming into a partnership built on mutual trust and understanding. They developed a unique language of cues and signals, allowing them to perform complex routines with seemingly effortless precision. Zayne understood Nani in a way that few others did, anticipating her movements, understanding her subtle shifts in mood. He saw her not just as a performing animal, but as an intelligent, sentient being. Their shows were legendary. The synchronized leaps, the playful splashes, the intricate underwater ballets, they were a testament to their deep connection. Audiences were mesmerized by their grace and power, captivated by the visible bond between trainer and orca. Zayne became a celebrity, the face of SeaWorld, the embodiment of the harmonious relationship between humans and marine life. But behind the dazzling smiles and the thunderous applause, a shadow lurked. The reality of captivity, the confined spaces, the repetitive routines, they began to take their toll on Nani. Subtle changes emerged, whispers amongst the other trainers that something wasn't right. There were the missed cues during performances, moments of hesitation where Nani seemed distracted, unfocused. She became less responsive to Zayne's commands, her movements occasionally jerky and uncoordinated. Sometimes, while submerged, she would emit unusual vocalizations, sounds that didn't quite fit within her normal repertoire. A low, mournful wail that seemed to echo the deep loneliness she felt. Zayne, ever the optimist, dismissed these incidents as minor fluctuations, attributing them to changes in the park schedule or minor adjustments to the routines. He reassured his colleagues, attributing Nani's behavior to her intelligence, to her need for constant stimulation. "She's just bored," he'd say, a confident smile masking any underlying concern. However, these subtle signs were becoming increasingly difficult to ignore. The other trainers, seasoned professionals who had worked with orcas for years, couldn't shake a feeling of unease. They noticed Nani spending more time alone, isolating herself in the corner of her enclosure. She was less interactive with her padmates, exhibiting a detachment that was uncharacteristic. Her appetite waned, and her usually playful nature turned sullen and withdrawn. The pressure within the park was also mounting. Attendance figures were dropping, and management was pushing for bigger, more spectacular shows. The trainers were under increasing pressure to deliver, to push the Orcas beyond their limits. This created a tense atmosphere, with conflicting priorities between animal welfare and entertainment value. Whispers of discontent circulated amongst the staff. Some voiced their concerns about Nani's well-being, questioning the ethical implications of pushing her too hard. Others feared for their own safety, recognizing the inherent risks involved in working with such powerful animals. Despite the concerns, the show had to go on. The park relied on the spectacle of the Orca performances to draw in crowds, and any disruption to the schedule was met with resistance from above. So, behind the carefully curated image of harmony and respect, a storm was brewing. Zayne, caught between his loyalty to SeaWorld and his deep affection for Nani, found himself increasingly isolated. He tried to balance the demands of his job with his desire to protect Nani, but the pressure was relentless. The warning signs were there, undeniable, yet they were dismissed, ignored, or downplayed in the pursuit of profit and entertainment. A tragic miscalculation, a fatal flaw that would soon have devastating consequences. The day began like any other at Sealand Adventure Park. The sun glinted off the water. The air was thick with the scent of salt and chlorine, and the crowds buzzed with anticipation. Today's performance was a special one. Zayne and Nani were showcasing a brand new routine, one that promised to be their most spectacular yet. But as the show began, a subtle unease began to creep through the air, unnoticed by the cheering crowds, but felt acutely by the trainers. Zayne, ever the professional, entered the water with his usual confidence, a warm smile plastered on his face. He swam towards Nani, his movements fluid and practiced. "All right, Nani, let's show them what we've been working on," he said, his voice amplified by the underwater microphones. Nani responded with a playful splash, a familiar signal that usually meant she was ready to perform. The first few minutes of the routine went off without a hitch. Nani executed her signature leaps and dives with precision, her immense power and grace captivating the audience. But as the routine progressed, subtle cracks began to appear in Nani's performance. Her movements became less fluid, more rigid, almost mechanical. She seemed hesitant, almost reluctant, to follow Zayne's commands. A slight frown creased Zayne's forehead. He tried to remain calm, attributing Nani's behavior to a momentary lapse in focus. "Easy, girl, easy," he murmured, extending a hand towards her. But Nani recoiled, a low rumble emanating from her throat, a sound the other trainers knew well. A sound of displeasure, a sound of warning. The tension in the water was now palpable, a thick, suffocating blanket that pressed down on everyone watching. Zayne attempted to redirect Nani, guiding her towards the next maneuver, a synchronized spin. But instead of complying, Nani swam in the opposite direction, circling the pool erratically, her dorsal fin slicing through the water with increasing speed. "Nani, what's going on?" Zayne called out, his voice laced with concern. He tried to close the distance, but Nani kept moving away, her behavior growing increasingly unpredictable. The crowd, initially captivated by the spectacle, began to sense that something was amiss. Their cheers turned to nervous murmurs, their smiles replaced by concerned frowns. From the sidelines, the other trainers watched with mounting dread. They had seen Nani exhibit signs of stress before, moments of agitation and resistance. But this was different, far more intense, far more unsettling. This was not just a simple act of defiance. This was something darker, something primal. Zayne, sensing the escalating danger, tried to regain control of the situation. He switched to hand signals, hoping to communicate with Nani in a way that wouldn't further agitate her. But Nani seemed to ignore him, her eyes fixed on something unseen, her body vibrating with pent-up energy. He attempted a calming technique, something that had worked in the past. He began to hum a low, soothing melody, a tune that Nani usually responded to with a gentle nudge. But this time, there was no response. Nani continued to circle, her pace quickening, her breathing becoming more labored. The air crackled with anticipation, a sense of impending doom hanging heavy over the pool. The other trainers exchanged frantic glances, their hands hovering over the emergency buttons, their minds racing with possible escape routes. They knew that if Nani truly snapped, there was little they could do to intervene. Zayne, his face etched with worry, continued to try and reach Nani, his voice pleading, his movements cautious. "Nani, please, it's okay. What's wrong, girl? Talk to me." But his words seemed to fall on deaf ears. Nani was no longer the playful, responsive Orca he had known and loved for so many years. She was something else, something wild, something dangerous. Then it happened. With a sudden, explosive burst of speed, Nani lunged towards Zayne, her massive jaws wide open. The water erupted in a frenzy of foam and spray as she seized him in her grip. The screams of the audience were drowned out by the sickening crunch of bone and the desperate cries of the trainers. Time seemed to stand still as the horror unfolded. Zayne, caught completely off guard, struggled frantically, his limbs flailing in the water. But Nani's grip was too strong, her power too immense. He was tossed around like a ragdoll, his body slammed against the pool walls, his head repeatedly submerged beneath the surface. The other trainers, paralyzed by shock, could only watch in horror as their friend and colleague was brutally attacked. Their training had prepared them for many things, but nothing could have prepared them for this. The bond they thought unbreakable, the trust they had placed in these magnificent creatures, was shattered in an instant. The scene was one of pure chaos and terror. The water turned crimson, stained with Zayne's blood. Nani continued her relentless assault, thrashing him violently, refusing to release her grip. The screams of the audience intensified, a chorus of fear and disbelief. Some turned away, unable to bear witness to the gruesome spectacle. Others fainted, collapsing in a heap on the stands. Finally, after what seemed like an eternity, Nani released Zayne. His lifeless body floated to the surface, his eyes vacant, his limbs limp. The silence that followed was deafening, broken only by the sobs of the trainers and the gasps of the horrified onlookers. The performance was over, but the nightmare had just begun. The news hit like a tidal wave. Zayne Marston, dead, killed by Nani, the Orca he'd dedicated years of his life to. Sealand, once a beacon of marine entertainment, was immediately shuttered. The gates, usually buzzing with excited families, were locked, a stark symbol of the tragedy that had unfolded within. An investigation was launched, a desperate attempt to understand the unthinkable. How could such a close bond, years in the making, shatter so violently? Investigators pored over every detail, every training record, every shift in Nani's behavior. They interviewed trainers, scrutinized the park's practices, and consulted with marine biologists and animal behaviorists. The goal: to pinpoint the catalyst, the breaking point that turned a majestic performer into a lethal force. the focus quickly shifted to Nani herself. Was she simply a rogue animal, acting on instinct? Or was there something more at play? Experts began to dissect the potential causes of her aggression, meticulously examining the stresses of captivity. The cramped confines of the tank, the repetitive routines, the artificial environment, all came under intense scrutiny. The question wasn't just what happened, but why. Orcas, these apex predators, are incredibly intelligent, social creatures. In the wild, they roam vast ocean territories, hunting in pods, communicating through complex vocalizations, and forming lifelong bonds. But in captivity, they're stripped of these natural behaviors, confined to concrete pools, forced to perform tricks for human entertainment. Their lives become a pale imitation of their wild counterparts. The investigation revealed subtle, yet significant, changes in Nani's behavior in the weeks and months leading up to the attack. Increased agitation, decreased responsiveness to commands, even signs of self-harm. These were all red flags, warning signs that something was deeply wrong. But were they recognized? And if so, were they adequately addressed? That's what everyone wanted to know. The ethical implications of keeping orcas in captivity became impossible to ignore. Was it right to confine these intelligent creatures for our amusement? Was the educational value of seeing them up close worth the cost of their well-being? The debate raged, fueled by Zayne's death and the horrifying image of Nani's attack. The public outcry was deafening. Animal rights activists, already critical of Sealand, found their voices amplified. Protests erupted outside the park, demanding the release of all captive orcas. Social media exploded with condemnation, images of Nani's confinement juxtaposed with the vastness of the ocean. The hashtag free Nani became a rallying cry for animal liberation. The sentiment began to shift. People who had once flocked to Sealand for entertainment now questioned the morality of it all. The romanticized image of trainers and orcas working in harmony was shattered, replaced by a stark realization of the inherent dangers and ethical compromises involved. Zayne Marston's death became a symbol of the struggle for animal rights. He was no longer just a trainer. He was a martyr, a victim of a system that prioritized entertainment over animal welfare. His story ignited a global conversation, forcing people to confront uncomfortable truths about our relationship with the natural world. His legacy extended far beyond the walls of Sealand. His death served as a catalyst for change, prompting stricter regulations on marine parks, increased scrutiny of animal welfare practices, and a growing awareness of the psychological toll of captivity. Although a tragic event, Marston's death paved the way for a new wave of thinking about orcas in captivity. The legacy of Zayne Marston is complex and multifaceted. He was a passionate trainer who loved his work, but his death exposed the dark side of the marine park industry. He unknowingly helped spearhead the call to end orca captivity for good. His name is now synonymous with animal rights, a reminder that even the closest bonds can be broken when animals are pushed beyond their limits. The shift in the conversation, the heightened awareness, and the growing movement for animal liberation, these are all part of his lasting impact. He may be gone, but his story continues to resonate, sparking debate, inspiring action, and ultimately pushing us towards a more compassionate future for all creatures, great and small. Now that he is gone, who will speak for them?